It's 2009 and Donna Cameron, in her late 20s, is sitting on her brown suede lounge in Western Australia.
Just felt completely not real.
She's just received a message from an old friend.
I got a message from Jess saying, "Hey, I noticed you're living in WA, have you seen this?" And then she sent a clip of the article. And then her next question was, "Do you live anywhere near there?"
The article's got a photo of two men, a young woman and a little girl. I know this photo well. It's a screenshot of a video where the four have red bindies on their foreheads. They're holding their hands in the prayer position and smiling into the camera before saying in unison, "Namaste." Donna immediately recognises the young woman. It's an old school friend who she hasn't seen in years, Chantelle McDougall.
Oh my gosh, she has a child? I just remember feeling so shocked that she had a little girl.
The article says the four have disappeared.
It's not something that you plan on hearing about a high school friend. Yeah, I felt uneasy. I felt sick because of the last interaction that we'd had.
I'm calling about a story that I'm working on about a disappearance. For months now, I've been trying to get a clear picture of who these four people were who disappeared without a trace from their little blue house in Nannup in 2007.
Come on then, Lily, do us a show. Come on.
Chantelle McDougall was 27 years old when she and her 6-year-old daughter Leela were last seen in Nannup in WA Southwest, with Leela's father and cult leader Simon Kadwill and a lodger Tony Poppage.
What I've heard so far is unsettling and has only left me with more questions. People remember Chantelle as a quiet, shy but happy young mum. But that's totally at odds with the bizarre encounters people had with her partner, Simon Kadwill. It's like they belong to two different stories. I'm trying to reconcile these two versions of Chantelle's life, to work out which is the real Chantelle, or maybe how one became the other. Which is how I come to be sitting down with Donna, because she has a glimpse into a key moment when a bubbly, young, drama-loving student became something else.
And that's when all the things started, falling into place in my brain.
I'm Dominique Bayens, and this is episode 2 of Expanse, the Nannup Four, Selling Snake Oil. It's taken a while of back and forward, but finally Donna and I meet in person. With bubblegum pink hair, combat boots and a nose ring, I'm impressed by how cool she is. Usually with this sort of thing, you greet people with a smile and a handshake, but Donna and I hug straight away. Nervous small talk quickly turned into enthusiastic conversation about entering baking competitions in country ag shows and why John Farnham's "You're the Voice" is one of the greatest Australian songs of all time. But we aren't meeting to talk about lemon slice or Aussie dad rock. I'm asking her to tell me about something that happened decades ago that still plays on her mind. Back in 1998, Donna was out of high school, living in Melbourne, studying music. One day she had some free time from uni work and hopped on the tram and headed to one of the busiest streets of Melbourne.
And I was going up to the top of Burke Street. I remember it was literally, we just crossed paths. But it was just one of those chants, oh my God, Chantelle, what are you doing here?
Donna had no idea Chantelle had also moved to Melbourne.
It was still old Chantelle, smiley, loud laughing, that sort of thing. And it was a lot of what are you doing here? What are you, da 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 da.
Donna had first met Chantelle 3 years before, in 1995, when she was asked to show this new girl around high school, Chantelle McDougall.
I just remember her being really smiley and friendly. They're the only two words that I can kind of think of, and sunshiny. And she was a little bit goofy, but that was all of us as well, which is why I think, You know, she felt comfortable with our group of friends.
It wasn't that long ago that they were sharing sleepovers, afternoons spent at the Wodonga shopping plaza and weekends at the local weir. They'd last seen each other at the end of school, when it was like they had the whole world at their feet.
It was scary, but it was so exhilarating. And it was confusing because when you're 17, 18, you're still discovering yourself and who you are and what you want.
In high school, the two shared a love of the arts, drama and music. So they start catching up on how they're each chasing down their dreams. As the two friends start to fill each other in on their lives and what they've been up to, Chantel told Donna she had a job as a live-in nanny, looking after a baby boy.
I was like, oh, amazing. Like, that's a really cool job. And I remember thinking that it's something that she would have been really good at because she would have been great with kids.
Then Chantel started telling Donna about the father, her employer, Simon Kadwill.
Yeah, that's when I started feeling the unease creep in and started thinking like, oh, this is weird.
In the years she'd known her, Chantel had been light-hearted. A little naive maybe, but what 17-year-old isn't? In fact, the overwhelming sense of teenage Chantel that I got from Donna is just this sunshiny, fun-loving, normal teen girl. Not particularly interested in boys, a delightful loud laugh, a little quirky. Chantel had never struck her as being gullible before, but now she's got this glazed look and seems enamoured with this man.
I'd not heard her talk about boys like that through high school. I was trying to listen to her, but I remember that I had a voice running in my head going, this isn't right. This is really weird. What is she talking about? What is this book? What is this man? Who is this man? Like, what? Oh, is she in love with him? She seems like she's in love with him. Hang on, are you nannying for him? Like, what's... And I remember feeling really confused and just sort of wanting to back away a little bit.
Donna had never been uneasy with Chantel before. From the moment she had walked into Donna's class in grade 10, Chantel had been so comfortable, so easy to be friends with. But then, next to the hurrying pedestrians and passing trams on Burke Street, Chantel told Donna about a book this man had written.
That's when the alarm bells went. It was really difficult to grasp what she was saying. I remember it being like, this is really weird.
By now, Donna's totally lost. Her Chantel never seemed to even have an interest in religion. Shakespeare maybe, but not spirituality.
I think what twigged for me was when she alluded to him having followers.
Donna's really weirded out. And there's one word that pops up in her head.
Oh my God, is she in a cult? I remember just wanting to kind of leave the conversation because I almost had this feeling that if I stay, she's going to say, why don't you come over and read some of this book with me? So straight away, my protective instinct kind of went up, which was really strange because I'd never felt that around her at all. You know, I came up with some excuse, I'm sure. You know, I think we hugged and I said, well, let's catch up.
Donna ran straight home and told her housemate Jess, the same school friend who sent her that news article a decade later. The next time Donna would see Chantel's face was with a red bindi on her forehead under a news headline.
And it's heartbreaking because of the way I felt at the time, which was, to be honest, like, I need to back away here, you know? If I was older and if I was who I am now, I would have grabbed her and said, come with me. I'm taking you away from him and let's go to a safe space. When you're young back then, you know, it's just a stupid thing that we were all doing. Do you know what I mean? Like all of us went on stupid paths, I guess, and did silly things. So at the time, I guess that was her thing. I'd never thought in a million years it would lead to where it has now. Never.
I think all of us know that feeling that Donna carries, the weight of missed opportunities that you can only see in the rearview mirror. I'm starting to hear it a lot. People learning how to live with the choices they made. Everyone wishing they could do something differently, but they can't because they only knew what they knew at the time. Despite what Donna says, that she just got this overwhelming feeling that Chantel had got tied up in a cult, I can't tell if what I've heard says cult or just a bit of a dick of a boyfriend. When I think about a cult, I imagine something that's bigger, more people, ceremonies and white robes. Not 4 people living in a little blue house, and an early keyboard warrior with a web page and a forum. I've found someone who I think might help me unpick this. Raphael Aron, who spent almost 4 decades working with people who've been in cults, helping them get out, supporting them after. He first got interested as a psychology student, volunteering at a crisis phone line, where he got a few calls from parents who had children who'd been drawn into cults.
So I did something rather unusual. I took time out of my studies and joined some of these organisations to find out what they were and what they were doing.
And Raphael is interested in the Nannup case. He's been following it for a few years, trying to make sense of it. And he knows a lot about cults, even authored a handful of books on the subject. When I ask Raphael to try and explain Simon Kadwill's belief system, he's not really able to, even though he studied it.
I know it is about transition into other lives and all sorts of other sort of esoteric views.
I've also spent a lot of time trying to wrap my head around Simon's, frankly, pretty convoluted and bizarre ideas. Those ramblings on different planes of existence and societal downfall, of ascending the spiritual path through an end of days. Honestly, there's references to aliens, the Matrix, lots of other theologies. It's a bit of a jumble. I know Simon Kadwill was up all night on the internet, posting on forums and his webpage. I've gone back through the web archives to find every trace I can of what he was doing. And let me tell you, going back to early 2000s internet is quite a time. Everyone my age had a MySpace account or MSN Messenger, and chat rooms made it really easy to talk to strangers on the other side of the globe.
He had a following of some several hundred people around the world on the net.
The website is vast. It almost seems like some web of consciousness, every thought posted. It's not entirely clear who wrote it either. It doesn't clearly say by Simon Kadwill anywhere. There are lots of references to a vague we. It feels like the author is hiding behind the ambiguity, or maybe even using it to seem more significant, more powerful. Or, listening to Raphael, maybe that ambiguity is actually a means to draw people in.
Significant differences is, with a religion you know what you're getting yourself into, and with a cult you don't. You're entering blind and hoping that something's going to work out for you.
It's so easy to ask, why did Chantel choose to get involved with this guy? But Raphael says it's not really a question of choice at all.
An informed decision requires 2 components or 2 aspects. One of them is the component of free choice, that the person has the ability to be able to make choices. And the other one is to have the information with which to make the choice.
It wasn't just Chantel. It seems like Simon Kadwill was drawing people in, with hints that you could reach a meaningful life and an enticing invitation into an elite group who alone had the truth. We found emails from people who followed him, undertook correspondence courses offered by his Truth Fellowship, even travelled around the world to meet him. He seemed to go by the name Simon Kadwill, or just Si online. And he was connecting to people in a way that was pretty new. I feel like in 2007, people approached online conversations without the heavy cynicism we do today. They were more open, less literate about the risks. And for the first time, people were able to get a sense of belonging with people just like them, all around the world. But it still seems like whatever persona Simon had online, in the real world, he didn't have some big band of followers. And it doesn't sound like he was out and about in Nannup, spreading the divine word. In fact, from 2003, when they moved to Nannup, it seems like Simon Kadwill was rarely seen outside the house, even more rarely seen in town, which is strange for Nannup.
A real country town where everybody knew everybody.
Kay Savoury is a small, neatly dressed woman with a warm smile. She lives in a charming cottage on the edges of the Nannup town site.
It's one of those places that gets into your soul, really.
The first time we met, before now, she struck me as the kind of woman who knew the people of Nannup and their secrets well. She'd share bits and pieces, but I also got the sense she'd hold information back when she felt a story wasn't hers to tell. But she has some pieces of the Nannup Four puzzle about how Chantel and Simon interacted, what that dynamic was like. It took a bit of convincing for Kay to speak to me on tape, but eventually she agreed. But any video was a bridge too far. Noted, microphones only. Let me just press record, Kay.
Yep.
Kay moved to Nannup in 1998 and knew right away she'd come to the right place. She already felt welcomed like a local. It didn't take long and she picked up work. The couple 2 doors down gave her a gig at the liquor store they ran. It was a few years later that some other newcomers to town came into the bottle shop. Kay didn't know their names then, but they were Simon Kadwill, Tony Poppich, Chantelle and Leila McDougall.
And I became a little bit wary quite early on.
What traits did you pick up?
That he's quite dominating and domineering, I would say, as much, yeah. That he wanted to lead the conversation, really. He was the one that was going to decide what they were buying.
Kay can't remember what they bought, but she remembers the dynamic between them, like Simon was the one in charge, the leader. After that first meeting, Kay would sometimes see Chantel or Tony down the street, but never Simon, who would spend all night up on the internet. On the other hand, Chantel was working multiple different jobs, over time doing everything from serving at the fish and chip shop, looking after a girl with disabilities, working at the pub. All the while single parenting Leila, who, according to her homeschool friend Diane, Simon had refused to help raise when he found out Chantel was pregnant. Chantel seemed to be pretty enterprising, coming up with ways to make $1, even trying to sell things from an online catalogue to locals. I mean, who doesn't need a tool to help you pull on your socks? One day, she even put the hard word onto Kay to buy something. But Kay actually had a side hustle herself, with a sales business called Nutrimetics. I can remember my own mum hosting parties and buying makeup or skincare just like Nutrimetics.
Break it down, yeah!
It was usually women, in particular stay-at-home mums. And Kay was used to meeting mothers like Chantel who wanted some financial independence.
And I'd met a lot of women that had low self-esteem and were in quite confronting situations.
Kay had seen similar signs in other women that she saw in Chantel, worrying things, like she didn't have much control over money or the way things were run in her world. Kay wanted to help Chantel, this quiet, gentle woman. She hoped that by setting her up with Nutrimetics, it might give Chantel some more independence, freedom maybe. So Chantel put the invite out to a group of Nannup women, while Kay packed her Nutrimetics products into her ute and headed out to the Blue House to help Chantel host her very first sales presentation. Inside the house, Kay felt uneasy.
I really didn't feel very comfortable, I would say. I picked up not a very good energy.
She went through a hallway and into a small living room with some comfortable looking couches. In a corner of the room by a window, Kay set up a display of the products while Chantel was in the kitchen preparing food. Then Simon came to the living room. He stood in the doorway and started firing questions at Kay.
He wanted to know what the product was and could it be that good, and why did you have to just sell it to people this way?
He didn't seem like a curious spouse. The way he was asking the questions was like he wanted a justification why this woman was in his house.
He came across with me as I'm in control of this. I thought, hang on, what's going on? I've got to be a bit careful here.
Kay didn't say much. Simon seemed angry and didn't move from the doorway.
He was stopping anybody coming in and he was stopping me going out. He wasn't going to sit down and be below me in any situation.
Kay could feel her heart beating faster as Simon hammered her with questions about how much it would cost Chantel and when she would start earning money.
Because I could feel that he wanted to be between me and Chantel at that stage.
Simon eventually left the room. Chantel came back in carrying snacks.
I said, oh, is Simon okay? And it was, oh, he may not have slept well. That was the response I got. Oh, okay, I'll be a bit careful here.
Kay got on with setting up for the coming sales party before people started arriving. Simon didn't appear again that day as a small group of Nannup women gathered and clucked over moisturisers and cleansers. Chantel made her first sales. The afternoon was a success. But Kay couldn't shake that feeling of him standing over her and what might happen for Chantel in that house.
I never saw him in the same light to me. I was the threat after that. So there was no interaction where I wasn't a threat.
Kay went back to the Blue House one final time to help Chantel pack up the orders. But the living room looked different this time. The computer and electrical cords had taken over, wires everywhere. Kay noticed Chantel seemed different that visit as well.
She was definitely quieter, more subdued. She wasn't quite so gregarious, I would say.
In the next 3 years in Nannup before they went missing, Kay never spent time with Chantel again, and Chantel never placed another Nutrimetics order. I can't help but think about what Kay's told me in the context of something else Raphael said. That isolation, lack of feedback outside the group, is a really dominant form of control, keeping away people or ideas that might challenge theirs.
There are lots of definitions of cults, but essentially it's an organisation or a structure which denies people their autonomy, their independence of thought, their ability to make decisions, and to be able to plot their own path in life. Everything is controlled to the point that people lose their own sense of identity, their own sense of self.
This actually brings to mind one of Simon's teachings, that the personality is all a construct. It's not real. And to achieve spiritual growth, you have to let go of your personality. And Chantel, who according to what I've heard, seemed to need his permission to go places, see people, start up a business.
One of the patterns of behaviour which is quite universal is secrecy. People not wanting to share what they're going into and what they belong to.
Once again, I can't help but think about the Nannup Four when Raphael says this, hidden away in a remote corner of the country.
There was a small group of people enmeshed with each other to a point where there was no possibility of outside review or criticism. Small groups such as this one have a far greater effect and a far greater impact on the believers.
It seems counterintuitive, right? But he says that in big cults, the leader is some distant figure.
Members have never seen the leader. They've never had anything to do with the leader.
But in little groups like the Nannup Four, the presence of the leader is right there.
People being bombarded by his views about transitioning to a higher plane, all those sorts of things. They're living in this bubble, in this cocoon. So there's no other input other than the input that was being thrown at them every day from their leader. And I think that's a really important point. You don't have a frame of reference.
It's starting to make sense to me why Chantel seems to be described by so many people as really lovely, but hard to get close to. I've heard it first from Diane, now Kay. It seems like when someone started to get too close, Simon warned them off, and that Chantel was becoming more and more isolated. I feel like there are two people who would have the best sense of whether this is the case, and who might be able to fill me in on how Chantel got pulled into the orbit of doomsday truth-seeking, this truth fellowship. Chantel's parents, Leela's pa and nanny, Jim and Kath McDougall. I was never going to do this podcast unless they were on board. I can't imagine what it's like to go nearly 20 years not knowing where your daughter and granddaughter are. Jim and Kath live on the other side of the country in Victoria. But I've organised a day and a time and I'm going to meet them. It's time to hear from those closest to Chantel. Just how did Simon Kadwill pull her so far down the rabbit hole?